life will be better. Perhaps a bit less noisy when the youngsters grow up. Bit better income as I get rise with my salary. Life will be this. It's good to make plans. Now, I'm not here to sell you life insurance. You can relax there. But it's good to make plans. It's a foolish person that doesn't make plans ahead, because often they're at the sharp end of whatever. But this guy wasn't like that. No. He made very careful plans. Now, the situation was this, that with a mixture of good hard work on his farm and God providing just the right amount of rain and sun, this guy had a bumper crop. His fields were absolutely bulging with wheat and corn and everything else. This guy had it made. Now I say, no credit crunch for him. He was doing very nicely, thank you. So he asked himself a question which people would need to do if they're doing very well in life. He says, what shall I do? He thought, I haven't got enough room to store all these grain and all these crops. And his answer was this. I know, this is what I'll do.
You came to IKEA.
I'll pull down my barns, and I will build bigger barns, and there I will store all my grain and all my crops, and I'll say to myself, you've done very, very well. Take it easy. Eat, drink, and be merry. Now, most people would have thought, I'd like to be like this guy. Cool, I'm always struggling and scrimping and saving. This guy has done very well in life. But you'd be in for a surprise, because the story doesn't end that way. God said to him, you fool. Well, that's a bit hard, isn't it? I mean, the guy worked hard, and he was making some very careful plans. God called him a fool. Why on earth would God call him a fool? He could have said, look, God, I've worked very hard. And God would have said, you're a hard-working fool. He could have said, well, look, a lot of my neighbours and my employees really look up to me. And God would have said, well, you're a respectable fool. You see, whichever way you turn it, God said to him, you're a fool. But why did God call him a fool? This is why God called him a fool. Because God said to him, your life will be taken. In other words, this guy wasn't going to be around long to enjoy all the hard work that he put into life. He spent plenty of time planning for this life, and it's important that we plan for this life, but he hadn't made a moment's notice for the afterlife, not a moment's notice for eternity. I wonder perhaps if you're a bit like that. Or you might not have become a rich farmer or a rich anyone. But I wonder if you share the same big mistakes that this guy did. Making plenty of plans for this life, but making no thought at all for the afterlife. Now, the Bible makes it very clear that this life here is only the prelude for the life to come. And what you do with the big decisions in your life here regarding God determines where you spend eternity. That word is eternity, going on forever and ever. The tragic thing about this guy was that God said to him, your life will be taken tonight. The guy had only hours to live, but he hadn't realised it. And he'd been so busy making all his plans for this life, he hadn't even given a thought for eternity. I wonder if you're like that, if you're honest. You may well be honest, because God knows exactly what you're thinking and exactly your heart at the very moment. The Bible makes it very clear that after death comes judgment. Whether you like it or not, the moment you and I die, and that will happen to every 100% statistic, we have to stand before our Maker and give an account of our life. And he knows all your thoughts, all your words, and all your deeds. And your whole life will be taken into account, not just the nice bits. And it'll be you and God, that personal interview. And none of your pals, none of your friends, just you and God. How will you get on in that interview? The Bible makes it very clear that none of us can possibly pass that interview and get into the right eternity in heaven left to ourselves. Because of our selfishness and sin. It's not just this guy that was selfish. We're all basically self-centered. We all actually have gone astray. Every one of us have turned to our own way. And that is the truth of the matter, if you're honest. God knew we could never make it to heaven. So God sent Jesus to die on that cross There was no other good enough to pay the price of sin. He only could unlock the gate of heaven without a sin. Jesus died on the cross to pay the punishment God demands for sin, which was death. And to prove that punishment was acceptable, that sacrifice was acceptable, God raised him to life the third day. Please, please don't make the same massive error this farmer did, spending plenty of time preparing for this life, but no time preparing for God, preparing for eternity. Turn to Christ now, unlike this man. Ask Jesus to forgive you your sin, come into your life and be your Lord and Saviour. And then you'll have the best of both worlds. You'll be prepared for this life with a full life and a guarantee of heaven instead of hell when you die. Thanks for listening.